The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. People have projected the African continent to be a poor place. We are suffering. We have nothing to eat. We depend on them. They have created a narrative to the world that actually is not what is happening here. The Africans are living on trees. We have nothing. When one of them managed to come here, go to a village, drill a borehole, this person send it back home, tell the world how we are suffering, we don't have water. They are the ones that are coming here, these NGOs. This is what they normally do, using Africa to enrich themselves, which the African is not aware of. They don't want to tell the world the narrative that is true about Africa. And when we finally rise up to speak the truth to the world, we become a target to these people. A brave African woman, a warrior, who rose to fight for Africa, became a target of EU. EU banned her, froze her accounts, trying to make life a living hell for her. But what they were thinking, they were doing to cripple this woman became a victory for her. We will never abandon our own. Today this woman is happily living in Niger. Our only older savior, the protector, the unifier, the Messiah, the King of Kings, welcomed her back home. This is where they belong. Our brothers and sisters who are living outside of the continent, that some of them have been cooked stories and they believe that they are Jews, they are Israelites, they are not Africans. Sometimes I wonder where they get those stories from. You need to wake up. Other people just don't want to hear the name of Africa because of how the West projected the continent to be.
Europe tried to erase one African woman and accidentally created their worst nightmare. In June 2025, the EU sanctioned Natalie Yamb, froze her assets, and banned her from their territories. Her crime, speaking truth about neo-colonialism. But here's where their plan spectacularly backfired. Weeks after Brussels tried to silence her, Yamb walked into Niger as a guest of honor. General Tiani welcomed her with open arms, while Europe watched helplessly from the sidelines. The woman they wanted to disappear just got elevated to the highest tables of African leadership. Talk about shooting yourself in the foot with a rocket launcher. Europe's punishment became Africa's vindication. This wasn't even her first meeting with Niger's president. She'd been building relationships across the AES while Europe was busy plotting her downfall. Now she's not just an activist. She's a living symbol of Africa's refusal to bow. The truth they expelled in the West became a compass in Africa. Europe created their own monster.
This African woman is banned from entering the European Union. Natalie Yamb, a Cameroonian Swiss activist, is banned from entering all 27 EU countries for her anti-French activism and pro-Russian views. She speaks out against French neocolonialism in Africa and supports Russian involvement, and the EU wasn't having any of it. Born in Switzerland, she grew up in Cameroon and attended university in Germany. She also lived some time in Côte d'Ivoire and was the executive advisor for a political party in the country. However, Côte d'Ivoire deported her to Switzerland after she criticized the Ivorian government in a conference in Russia. Switzerland is not an EU country, so she is allowed to live there. Yamb believes that the EU is hypocritical due to the fact that the EU still buys oil, cobalt, and natural gas from Russia, despite a significant reduction of imports. In the past, the EU imported a lot of natural resources from Russia. The ban came to effect last month in June. All her assets in the EU have been frozen. Now, I'm not staunchly pro-Russia, but I think it's interesting in how the EU just bans someone who isn't a criminal, does not have a criminal history, isn't a terrorist, or supported any terrorist organizations or ideologies. Her activism has not encouraged people to engage in harmful activities. Yet there are far-right groups out there in the open all over the EU that have not been banned. It's interesting how the EU claims to stand against injustice when it comes to Russia, but when it comes to their own countries doing harm in the African continent, they stay silent. It's acceptable. Unfortunately, this is how the EU operates. Plain imperialist hypocrisy. Follow for more videos like this.
Guys, the EU just banned an African woman from ever entering the EU. You heard that right. This woman is Cameroonian and she was banned from ever entering the EU because they said that she is influencing people in Africa to hate Europeans, actually. And so they banned her from participating, and she actually is Cameroonian, but was either lived in Switzerland or was born in Switzerland. And they also froze her assets. They say that her criticism of France is basically detrimental to European interest in Africa. So they banned her from ever participating, and because she particularly criticizes France in Africa and in Russia, so they have said that she's interfering with their interests in Africa and influencing people and their understanding of Europeans in Africa. You had that right. They have banned an African woman from ever entering the EU because they think, and they froze her assets, because she talks about France and the things that France and Europeans are doing. And they say that she's turning Africans away from Europeans into the hands of Russia. I would say it's the history of what you have done to Africans that is turning Africans away from Europe.
But one thing we have failed to understand is the same way they are projecting Africa black to you is the same way they are projecting our brothers in the diaspora black to us. So we wouldn't love each other to mingle with ourselves. They have a narrative they tell us when they come here about our brothers and sisters who are taken out of the continent, trying to divide us. The African must not be told the truth. You become a target to these people. But we are the only ones that can tell the truth about ourselves. These people will never be bold enough to tell the world, because when they do that, they will fall. They don't want you, the African, to know who you are, the power you have, that they are the ones that are depending on you. When this woman decided to tell the world the actual truth about Africa, she became their target. They want us to live in a world full of lies, the world they've created for us, because the more we are living in this darkness, the more they get the chance to come here to carry the resources. That is why they told us that here is a hell. There is nothing in Africa. Africa is full of poverty, hardship. We are living on their aid, and this is what we believe. And that is the reason to which today we are dying on the Mediterranean Sea just to get there. But we have failed to ask ourselves, if Africa is truly hell, why are they always coming here? Why are they rising against the leaders that are doing the right thing? Even if Muammar Gaddafi was a dictator and he was doing all these beautiful things for his people, what has that got to do with the United States of America? Why must they be concerned about leadership in Africa? Why must they be imposing democracy on us? Today we have been told democracy in school, and we believe so much about democracy, thinking that this is the only way for the African to be free. This is the only thing that can change the narrative here. So they get us leaders who will do nothing and will continue to be changing them here and there, and there is no solution. But we will never sit down one day to find out, why is it that we have been voting for these two people day in, day out for decades now? There is no change. They all sing the same songs and they come and do nothing. And they come and do nothing. So why is it that the same people who love us so much, even when we cry out to the world that this is what our leaders are doing wrong, they don't take those ones out, and yet they are after people who are changing the narratives in their respective countries? We need to know that these people do not want us to be self-conscious. Our emancipation is a crime to them. They will fall the day the African regains his or herself. Self-consciousness is what these people do not want us to have. And a lot of us do not know that this is a weapon they are using on us. We really need to journey on the path of self-consciousness. This is something that the African really need to do at this point in time. If we are not able to discover who we are, other people will continue to be playing on us anyhow. This is what is giving them the upper hand on us. We ask the questions, with all these resources, why is it that Africa is the way it is? The leaders are the problem. So they tell us who the problem is. Your leaders are your problem. They are not doing anything right. So if they are not doing anything right and you are after the leaders who are dictators, why don't you channel your energy towards the leaders that are causing harm to their people if truly you love the African? We need to rise up and fight. We need to emancipate ourselves. The battle is only you and I that can set ourselves free. We become a target because we are trying to educate our people. It's the same thing they do to our freedom fighters. Do not open their eyes. Do not let them know who they are. We have created a narrative. Let that narrative be, because this is the weapon they are using on us. If we become self-conscious and know the value of what we have here on the continent, they are doomed. And because of that, they will fight any other person. They have programmed the African. And this is what we are buying into. Today, look at the educational system, what our students are doing in the school. Singing and dancing when their colleagues in China, in Russia, are busy learning something meaningful. Yet the leaders will not say anything about it. Yet these same people wouldn't say anything about it. The African education has always been memorization. Yet they are comfortable. They come that they are changing the curriculum. What do they change? Changing the names of things from one place to the other. There is nothing, practically nothing that these people are doing for us. We need to set ourselves free. We need to educate ourselves, and we need to channel our energy to things that will educate and emancipate us. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make African great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world. In Africa, West Africa, and in Niger.